Hey everyone, it's Foxx from modelmakingguru.com here, and welcome to part 3 of our painting build job painting thing. It's mostly painting. Painting of the Assault Kingdom Strike Gundam. Yes, teeny tiny Strike Gundam. Right, as you can see here, everything's now been done. All the touching up with brush painting has been done that I promised. Now we can get on with the weathering. Well, almost. I don't know if you can see here, but on the head we have now painted in all the other details. We've got some bit of black wash on the intakes at the back and on the side. Got the V-fin painted and the jewel on the top and the little red goatee. Touched up with some bits of white just to lighten it a bit. So it's looking rather spanky now. The eyes, if you remember, I covered those over with masking fluid before we started the painting and priming, or even priming and painting. So they are the original eyes. I've just tied it up round the top of the white mask and the red sort of raccoon mask. That's all been done. Stuck the wings on the Aile strike pack. Yeah, look at that. I painted the beam sabers white as well because they're supposed to be a different colour. Yeah, anyway. One little thing I have noticed. I brush painted the grey on the legs. It looks a bit rough around the edges, but I'm hoping that the pin wash will sort that out. One thing I have noticed is, because I brush painted the joint in here, once I'd done the white paint, yeah, the paint's coming off because the paint is too thick for that very tight joint. Now, there's nothing I can do about that. I could have taken this apart, but I still have the same problem once I put it back together again. So there's nothing I can do about that. I may be able to hide all that with the gunk wash at the end. Just a little bit of oil paint just to darken those areas. I'll get it posed and then I'll leave it in that pose. So, not the end of the world. Arms had no such similar problems. Painted the beam rifle, which is now gunmetal. And then I put some little gold touches on there, and I painted white on the scope. Quite pleased with that. That needs gloss varnishing. I also used some of the semi-gloss black from the gun colours, the Ammo of MiG weapons colours, just for the handles, just to make it a bit more interesting. That will get some gunk wash and stuff just to bring out the edges and recesses, so it'll look a bit darker. I had some issues with the gunmetal, or rather with my airbrush. The gunmetal on the hands came out kind of speckly, so not quite sure what happened there. On the gun it came out alright. I was having a lot of issues getting the paint out of the airbrush. I think I may have just left it too thick. But hey, what are you going to do? Also painted gold on these bits on the Aile strike pack. I know they'll go matte when I'm out of varnish it, but then I'll go over them again with some more gold. There are some bits left. Painted all the grey parts on the torso. All these bits of fairing. Really chuffed with that. That paint is really nice to paint with. Did a very thin coat first and then a couple more coats on top, using the paint thinned down with, I think it was 4 drops of medium gunship grey, AMIG 204, 1 drop of satin black, AMIG 032, satin black because I didn't have any flat black, and 1 drop of the thinner. And that was applied in a couple of coats and it came out nice and smooth, and I managed to get nice crisp edges. That's the best brushwork I've ever done. Thank you to my Citadel Artificer brush for making my artificing so successful. Now there are some bits I've still got to do on the back. I've got to do the shiny exhausts for the thrusters on the back and these 2 little dots on the sides here, but I'll leave those till we've done the matte coat varnish because I want those to be shiny. Same with the hands. They obviously will get gloss varnished and pin washed, but there will be like a final coat of dry brushing some chrome silver over those because I want that shine to shine. And the shoulders, just went over the grey areas with the same mix of greys as I told you a moment ago. Did these raised parts here. You didn't see any of this. Did the raised parts, but the shading inside is from my original rubber black shade coat where I put less white, and it looks quite good. So now we just need to crack on and get all these goodies gloss varnished. What are we going to use? We're going to use my old standby Pledge multi-surface wax. Yes. I won't go through all the different options again because I've been over it a million times, but I will put a link in the description of this video for Swanny's models where it tells you all about what Pledge multi-surface wax /future/ clear is called in your country. So we have my my varnish here. Let's move this out of the way. One other thing I also have is my enormous cup of Batman coffee. This is very required. So I just need a swig of this. Oh. Actually worked out that cup holds a litre, just over a litre. Yeah, I get through about 2 or 3 of them a day. Yeah, you can tell. Anyway, let's stop making silly noises and crack on. So, gloss varnishing, we're going to brush this. We could airbrush it, but it's actually just as easy to... Hang on, the lid sealed itself. This happens quite often. There we go. Yes, we could airbrush this, but I've sometimes got better results with brushing it, so, and it's a bit more relaxing. So let's crack on. So we get some of the varnish on our brush, get the brush in shot, adjust our focusing so it's all in focus for you, and then just crack on. Whoa, sudden jump cut. I know, my camera was in portrait mode. Handy hint, folks. If you're going to put videos on YouTube, don't use portrait mode. Ugh. I will absolutely refuse to watch your video if you use portrait mode. Luckily for my camera, it seems to default it to landscape anyway. Now, the trick to brushing this stuff on, go slowly, go carefully, and use a soft brush. And if you can avoid it, don't have a wobbly hand like I've got right now. Couldn't be easier. Now this stuff, as I've said before, you'll know, does self-level wonderfully to give you a nice flat, smooth surface. Doesn't matter if you go a little bit too heavy, just don't slap it on. I'm taking some of the varnish off on the side of the bottle. And you may need 1 or 2 coats. Now why are we doing this? 2 reasons, or possibly more. One is to protect this paint from whatever's to come, just to give it a nice protected surface. 2 is to give a smooth surface for any pin washes or anything like that that we want to do, because a matte paint surface is rough on the molecular level, as I've told you many times before. So the rougher the surface, the less easily the paint in your pin wash will go via capillary action into all the little nooks and crannies. The other function this serves is to add another layer of protection to the plastic, so that when I start using things like enamel pin washes, they don't eat the plastic, which they will do. Enamel paints, oil paints, anything. Same reason that we prime this to start with, to protect the plastic. This is an extra layer of protection. And it's a good habit to just do varnish layers as often as you can, especially if you're mixing one paint and another paint. I don't mean mixing like mixing 2 colours, I mean if you're going to paint, say, acrylics, enamels on top of acrylics. Now normally, the thinners in enamels and enamel thinner products won't have any effect on fully dry acrylics because they have different thinners. Enamels are either water or alcohol based, and enamels and oils are spirit based or chemical solvent based. So if the enamels are really nice and dry and have been cured for a while, you shouldn't really have any problems going over them with enamels if you're just doing things like pin washes and stuff like that. It's not the end of the world. But just to be safe. But besides, we want a smooth surface. This is all about a smooth surface, this. Now it looks a bit lumpy. You can see there in the light, but it will smooth out as it dries. Pledge multi-surface wax / future / clear does self-level wonderfully. But if it's not quite shiny enough and not quite smooth, you can always go over with another coat. 2 coats aren't a problem, maybe even 3. Doesn't do any harm at all, because don't forget, when this is finished we'll be matte varnishing it. So it's not about the shine, it's about the smooth surface. That's what we're after, and the protection. Let's give this puppy a go. You'll see as well lots of little bubbles appearing as I brush it across. Don't worry about those. They will go away, and if they don't, you can just blow on them gently and they'll go away. Doesn't really matter. You probably will get bubbles when you're brushing it like this anyway, just because it's quite, well, brushing them just puts air into it and mixes it. But you can see I'm not being too careful. I'm just putting it on, making sure I get it everywhere. In fact, I'm going to use a smaller brush for the head, I think. That is my pledge brush. There we go. Sometimes you don't want to use a big brush. Sometimes you want to use a smaller brush. Now I haven't done the green cameras on this head yet. Same reason as before. I want them to be shiny at the end. So that'll be one of the last things I do. Using some Tamiya clear green. Oh, I'm over making crystal green. I've not tried that stuff yet. That has yet to be tried. It's actually quite relaxing doing this. You can tell I've had loads of cups of coffee because of my shaky hands. Okie dokie, right, now for the next step, we're going to do some pin washes, and we're going to use for these some enamel panel line washes. This is Ammo of MIG panel line wash blue black AMIG 161. These are enamel based washes, which we're going to use, and you'll see why we're going to use enamel based washes very shortly. So the first thing to do is make sure your lid is on properly and give it a darn good shake. You have to shake it quite vigorously. And make sure you stick it down on something. Now you can see here, I have pin washed this one, and I haven't pin washed this one. I don't know if you can actually see on camera. You might not see the difference, but there is a difference. This has been done. You can see it around the edges here, and this one has nothing. So we're going to do this leg, and it couldn't be easier. I'll be really honest with you, it couldn't be easier at all. So I'll just adjust my colourings and focusings. So we'll get the lid off on the panel line wash. Let's get it over here because it's easier to get to. If I can get the lid off. It's a two-step process. First step is get the panel line wash on. Second step is tidy it up. So all we're going to do is take a small... Can I do the brush there? No, I can't put it there. Don't know what happened. The camera's in the way. Take a small amount on the brush, just a really tiny amount. And this is where the gloss varnish comes in. This is basically super thin. So all we're going to do is touch it to an edge. And it should, by the magic action of capillaries, draw itself around the edge in question. Now don't worry if you get lots of little brush marks and splot marks. That's absolutely fine. That is not a problem, because we're going to clean this up shortly. And like I said, this couldn't be easier. Think of this like a highly focused gunk wash. It's basically what it is. You're just really controlling where it goes. Probably a bit more than I needed there. Get some in that line there. And we're just touching to an edge. Now this is blue black, which is quite dark, probably darker than we need, but I needed to use something that will stand out on camera. So you could use one of the lighter colours, more of a dirt or dark colour, earth colour. Can't actually see if I'm getting any panel line wash on the brush here. Put some in there. And again, don't worry if it's going everywhere and it's making a mess, because we will be following this up with some cleanup. And on this side. Oh, that's far too much, but you know what? Not the end of the world. You can use as much or as little as you like. Again, you don't need a lot really, I'm probably doing more than I need to here. Just for the purposes of showing you on the camera. It's also really hard to do this on camera in such a way that you can see it. And I can see it. Because my head is a long way from the camera right now. So you can be a little bit random. All you're interested in is making sure it gets around your panel lines. That's the main focus here. Now ideally you want to try and keep it away from any joints. In this case I do anyway, because of the issues I stated before. Paint coming off in the joints. I don't want this seeping into a joint and eating away at the plastic. Oops. Now that is fine, don't worry about that, that will clean up nicely. Not much more to do on there. Put some around this bit. Let's get some more on the brush. I'm sure this is very exciting for you to watch. And I just have to hope none of this works its way into that joint. Anywhere else? For anywhere else, yes. Around this bit. I'm probably going to paint in this bit anyway, but I'll do the panel line washing now. Here I can be a bit more generous because this is like a thruster area. So I don't mind filling it. Try and get it under there as best I can see. But this is where the gloss varnish is invaluable, because this helps it flow. If this was a matte surface, it would just kind of go and fan out and you wouldn't get the capillary action effect of it being drawn along edges and surfaces quite as well, or if at all. Here. It doesn't have to be panel lines. It can be edges, curves. Have you seen those warriors from Markov? They have curved swords. Curved swords. Some of you will get that, some of you won't. Right, so that's that done. So we need to leave that to sit now for about 5 or 10 minutes. Have two things of thinner ready, one for cleaning your brush off and one for the next step. Yeah, leave that for about 10 minutes. That's about it. And then we'll have the next step, which is cleaning all that up. So let me go and find something to do for 10 minutes, and when we come back, we'll make this a bit more tidy. Back in a moment. Right, we are back. This is at about 15-20 minutes. What will we need for the next step? A brush and some thinner, some clean thinner. The other thinner I've got, clean my brush, that's a bit scruffy. And all you're going to do, some tissue. Dead simple. All you're going to do, get some thinner on the brush, get most of it off, and then simply brush around where you want to clean up. So, for example, here we have some lumpy bits. I'm just going to go in and brush those away. I hope you can see this. I know there's lots of shadowing going on. The beauty of enamels is that they take about 24 hours to dry fully. So a bit like oils, for a little while you can go in and tweak them and clean them up. Sort of. Some more thinner. Always make sure to just wipe your brush on the tissue when you get some thinner on, because you're not drowning it, you just want it damp with thinner so it can work its magic. And you may have to work at it a little bit. Oh, completely off camera, hello. You may get some streaky bits, but you can just brush them away. It's not a problem. Okay, so I'll just move that out of the way. Let's do here. Now see this roughness here? This sort of bit where it's gone up on the edge? We'll take that away. We'll make it a nice straight line. Because all I really want is the shadow in the recess. And that's all I'm going to do, is slowly work my way around. Start taking some of these bits out. Let's see if you can see here. I'm zoomed in now, so I don't know where the camera is. You can see here it's quite patchy around this edge. Hopefully. I'm just going to go in and just tidy it up. If you've used Gundam markers and used lighter fluid to clean up, it's the same principle. If I remember correctly, they're kind of enamel based anyway. So you could use lighter fluid for this, but I just use normal thinners. For enamels, I use the same thinners as for oil paints, just odorless terpenoids that you can get from any art shop. Odorless is important because it's odorless. You can use things like white spirit and stuff like that, so you can see it. But trust me, they're a bit stinky. I don't know how I can do this so you can see what I'm doing. Good thing with odorless thinners is they're odorless. They don't stink your house out. And just work your way around and just tidy up. And if you take some off that you wanted to keep, if you go too far with one bit, don't panic. Just let it dry and go back in and do some more later on. And this way you can get some very nice panel lines, shading. Again, if you did this on a matte varnish, you'd really struggle to get any of this out. So we can do this top bit so you can see it better. Change the focus. Apologies, it's completely out of shot all the time because I don't know where the camera is. Now this is a little tiny panel line, but I kind of went all over the shot when I did it. So we're just going to work that out, moisten it, and then tease it with the brush so it fades away. Might get some little streaks left over, but hey, that just adds to the weathering, to be honest. See if I can do this so you can see it and not knock the camera. Where are you? There you are. I just want to get rid of this so it goes back to the panel line. I don't really want to get the paint out the panel line though, for obvious reasons, so there's enough thinner on that surface now that I can just keep working at it. See how I've put a little bit more on the top there? Not a problem. Now you have got a while to work with enamels, a few hours maybe, but typically you want to do it, if you're doing this, you want to come back after about 5 or 10 minutes, maybe 15. If you've put on any really thick, like I did in the bits above the sides of the knees, then maybe 15, just to let it dry a bit. So you see there it's streaked down here, but that's fine because then we can just brush that away. And if you do go wrong, just go back and put some more pin wash on it. Are you in shot? No, you're not in shot at all. Hooray! Right, that's my marker. So I've just taken a little bit out there, but it's not the end of the world. I can live with that. So just take your time. Work your way around. everything will come up gravy. Now it's a similar process with what's called a reverse wash, very similar process, reverse washing, where you paint a piece and then you clean up around the edges to get, say, a recessed area of a certain colour. And we'll just tidy that up. You probably can't see any of this. It makes two of us. I know I've explained it, but for me, filming brushwork is incredibly difficult because I can't be too far away or I can't see what I'm doing. But I need to get close enough with you guys so you can see what I'm doing at least. Right. As I said before, this blue-black is probably a bit darker than I'd normally use. You could use one of the earth tones if you want a more subtle look. Let's try and tidy this up. I'll do this from the funny angle so you can see. It's not conducive to me being successful. Alright, there you are. Just go along. Clean anything out, there we go. So I'll go around and do the rest of this. I'm now going to do the same on the rest of the Gunpla parts. What I might do is I'm going to use some different colours. On the reds I may use more of a darker brown tone. On the blues I might stick with this colour because it's quite good for blue. On the blacks I'm not sure because obviously this is a dark colour. I need to use perhaps a lighter colour, which is really weird, but maybe more of a dusty colour just to suggest maybe dust in the panel lines. And for the head I may use something like panel line wash deep grey, which is a MIG, and I can't see because it's rubbed off the label. It's more of a mushroomy colour. You probably see there. It's more of a mushroomy colour. Looks a bit more subtle on the head. The head's quite tiny, so I don't want to overpower it. So I'll go off and do all the rest. When we come back, that will have had overnight to dry. It's gone over the 3 days bank holiday now because it's Monday now, so it's gone a bit over bank holiday build. That'll have had 24 hours to dry. And then next we'll do a bit more. Might do a filter. I don't think I'm going to be doing any chipping on this because I think it's a bit too small. So we might do some streaking grimes or some filters maybe just to warm it up slightly. I've not decided yet. Or we might just build it and then carry on. So we'll see. So I'll go off and do the rest of these. And I'll bang the camera. Brilliant. Back in a moment.